So I think on the internet, we have a tendency to kind of glorify and hate things at very like harsh extremes. We tend to polarize a lot of things, and especially when we're discussing video games, it's weird. You hear good, mid, and then bad, and there's nothing in the gray areas. So I think this especially applies when I talk about like my favorite games. I've talked about a couple of them on this channel, and you'll definitely hear me talk about them in this video, but I wanted to try a thought experiment. I was like, I love these games. They're near perfect to me, and if I was in a conversation, I'd be like, yeah, those are perfect video games, but in the back of my head, I know that's not true. I know that's I don't know why I was thinking of JFK and Abraham Lincoln when I said in the back of my head. I have problems, but in the back of my head, I was thinking, what about my favorite games do I not like? Would I change? Because games as a medium are so tied to technology and how we perceive the idea of fun that I think it'd be an interesting thing to try. So we're gonna go down my top 5. This is also, I guess, a top 5 games ever video. And this might be top 6 technically, but you'll see what I mean. So at number 5, we've got Metal Gear Solid 3. Now this is a perfect video game. You're hiding everywhere, you're in the jungle, the cutscenes are incredible. I was playing this with my friends not even a week ago, and it was so funny watching them react to stuff like Ocelot meowing to bring his like entire patrol. Dumb shit like that is what makes MGS3 just a perfect game. 10 out of 10. But the thing that I noticed when watching them play is that the controls have not held up that well. The thing is, I get why they're like that. They're built off of the MGS2 controls, and when you're using them in that context, it almost makes sense because it's built off the MGS1 controls, and that's built off the MSX controls. Like, I get how at the time, especially back then, the shoulder buttons weren't really used for like shooting or even in racing games. Like, you'd press X to go fast, and now that's like an insane concept. People just use the face buttons more back then because it was like, well, those are the buttons that are right there, and that makes MGS3 so much harder to control because you're using buttons like Y to shoot and then the R button to look in first person, and you're using the triggers to change your inventory. Not to mention CQC is totally reliant on like where you're moving the stick, and I've beaten the game multiple times and have never known how to do CQC. Even when I'm talking to my friends, teaching them how to play the game, I'm like, yeah, CQC's there, and that's about it. Like, I don't know how it works. This is the one example of a game though where we are probably gonna see this fixed in the remake because the series did improve over time. Like, MGS5 controls, at least in my opinion, that game controls perfectly. No issues. It is my favorite open world game to control just because Snake, he feels like an extension of you in the best way possible. Now, in terms of my next favorite game, dude, I replayed this last year. I replayed pretty much all of these except one, I think, last year, and yo, Red Dead Redemption holds up so well. Everything in that game feels perfect. The sound effects, the controls, the story. My one big issue, and this is like not a problem when you really think about it, it's just the game needed more content. I wanted more missions, not like story missions, because I like how the story is concise. I just mean like side missions, stranger missions. I would have wanted more of those, especially with Jack, because he doesn't get a lot of development at all. And I think, I don't know, having like a couple of missions in between, I guess it's like Red Dead 2 spends too long explaining stuff. Red Dead 1 doesn't spend anywhere near as much time, I think. But yeah, I mean, that's such a funny problem for a game to have, is not enough content, because that just means I enjoyed it a ton. And even then, it was still 35 hours. Like, for any other game, I'd be like, yo, I'm exhausted at 10. All right, and for my third favorite game of all time, Sonic Mania. I mean, yo, you don't understand. Sonic Mania is so good. This is the game I recommend to almost everyone I talk to, because it's such a master class in pacing, design, music, just sauce. This game's got the sauce, bro. I sniff it and I'm like, this is the fucking shit, dude. It's so hard to think about an issue with Sonic Mania, But if I had one little teensy itty bitty issue, it would be the excess of old content as opposed to new content. Because the way the game is built, if you don't know, is it's an anniversary celebration. So out of all the stages, only 4 of them are new. It also sucks though, because Sonic Superstars is all original zones, which would be great, except the rest of that game sucks dick, so it's like it evens out. These are 2 imperfect games that needed to be combined, and maybe we'd get something. God, I'm gonna make a video on Superstars. I have it locked and loaded. I just need to I gotta shoot it out. That sounds really disgusting. Let's move on. Cut the transition. Alright, so for my second favorite game of all time, Mario Odyssey. This is such an interesting game because I feel like Twitter has completely switched up on this. When it first came out, I was like, oh my god, this is like a masterpiece. Yo, like, this is the greatest thing since Mario 64. It's incredible. And then over the years, it was like, well, actually, there's too many moons. It kind of sucks to 100%. And it's like, yeah, those are also my complaints, but also...
Stop it. Get some help.
I do think that they went a little overboard. Like, the fact that you can buy 999 moons. Like, why does my save file say I have that many? I haven't even done most of the fucking missions. I just had a shit ton of money from Luigi's Balloon World. Also, the fact that some worlds are incomplete, like the Skyrim one and the Cloud one, is very, very annoying because it's like, dude, how fucking rad would it have been to explore a medieval, like a realistic medieval world? Like, I didn't even know Nintendo had that dog in them to make a world like that. But yeah, definitely a game where it's flawed, but he controls so well. Everything is designed so nicely. It's just so happy and fun. There's a reason I talked about it in that one Does Video Game Music Matter video, because it is pure fun. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my 2 favorite games. I love these games so much. They're so good. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Incredible masterpieces. We will never get video games as good as those for a really long time, and that makes me sad. But you know what? I'm happy that I got to play them. My issues with them are, I mean, it's the dungeons. In both games, they're pretty mid. The world design, you could argue, is a little empty at some point. You could make that argument with Breath of the Wild. I don't know if you can make the same argument with Tears of the Kingdom because there is more. In Tears of the Kingdom, I think I just have more problems with it because it's recency bias. Like, Breath of the Wild, I think, after a couple of months, I can still solidify as my favorite game of all time. Like, it's up there. Probably off camera, that's how high it is. But Tears of the Kingdom, I don't know. Something about it, I know I put 200 hours into it, but I kind of wish there was more. Same problem that Red Dead had, but it does make less. I was waiting so long for it, and I think I gassed it up so much in my head that it could never fulfill my expectations, and that might just be its biggest problem, is that it was such a long wait, and for that amount of time, low-key, I feel like it should have been a little bigger, you know? Not bigger in terms of like the world, just bigger in terms of like the evolution. Because at the end of the day, gameplay loop wise, it's pretty similar. I don't know, I am not a game designer, I am just a guy in his room talking. But yeah, those in total are all my issues with my favorite games of all time. As you can see, I did not have that many issues, but the ones that I did have were pretty like, they can be fixed. I think that's the commonality, is that all these issues can be fixed through future entries and newer games. And I just hope to God that I get the opportunity to see that, okay? But anyway, put in the comments down below what your favorite game is, what are your issues with it, if you even have any, and like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. I'm not gonna cuss you out like I did last time, and I'll see you later. Bye.